So this is 1.5 millimeter hole puncture. You can find this tool in your local craft store or online. It is not necessary to have. If you don't find them, you can use a needle instead. This is round nose plier. Usually you need one to bend the wires, but for some other cases you need two together to make, for example, necklaces. And those are jewelry accessories you can find in our DIY craft tool, or you can just buy them in the local shops. You need recycled plastic bottles, PET one. You can find in, like, for example, soda bottles or soya sauce oil bottles. You have them washed and dried. Next, you need utility knife to cut off the top and bottom. And then you need a nice pair of scissors. I recommend you buying Fiskars small scissors. It can cut a lot of detail parts. And the marker and nail polish remover, those are not necessary, but if you are not familiar with cutting, in the beginning you can use a marker to draw the patterns you like and use nail polish remover to remove the marks you made. And of course the candle and matches. To make the most use of this bottle, we first cut off the bottom and the top, just for a small opening, and we continue this opening with scissors, cut around it. Cut this off, and here you can see a glue part. Usually I just don't use this glue part, so I cut this glue part off. Into two big pieces. I cut them into two different squares. So first is the bigger size. I usually cut into like 5 centimeters wide square. Usually it's for the flower of the outer layer. And for the inner layer flower, I cut them into around 3.5 centimeters square. So those two sizes. You can use the marker to draw pattern you like on top of the plastic pieces, whatever shape you feel like to make. And you don't need to worry this marker because later we can use nail polish remover to remove this paint. And remember, there is a hole in the middle. Before the melting, we punch a hole in the middle, so you can also mark it there. And for the inner flower, I can make this 5-petal shape. And you cut the shape carefully and try to cut it as smooth as possible. Try to be very careful to follow the lines you draw. So after cutting, we will trim the surface so it can be as smooth as possible. There should not be sharp corner of any kind. So you just trim the sharp corner into round corners. And you can use nail polish remover to remove the markers. Before melting, you punch a hole in the middle. Now they are ready for melting. We are going to melt those plastic pieces into organic shapes. To do this, it would be good if you could do this step in a nice ventilated room, or even better in an open space. But usually for burning plastic, there will be toxic gas coming out, but we are just melting, so the temperature won't be too high. It's quite safe to do so, even for kids. And different candle has different candle heat, so you don't know how hot it is. Usually I place it on top of the light as far as possible. And you can see they already start to bend very fast. So while melting, you keep turning it around so all the petals will get the heat evenly. You can do it with bare hand, or you can use round nose plier to hold it. But for me, it's much easier to control with bare hand. But to be very careful, do it very carefully, don't burn yourself. So try to let the heat to melt all different angles of this flower. And now this one is ready. So also you try to place it as far as possible and see it will gradually melt. You can use your finger to control the shape while it's still hot. And this step needs a lot of practice, so probably you will fail in your first few flowers, but if you keep practicing, and you will have a better control of the angles and the heat. You will see the plastic shape will be very organic and it will be smaller because it shrank. Yeah, that's it. Now I will introduce you how to color the flowers. It will be good if you can find directly colorful bottles, but if you cannot find, you only have transparent color, then using nail polish will be a nice way to give them some nice different colors. I use this Wild and Mild eco-friendly nail polish, and it's very good. It doesn't have much toxic ingredients, but it's still recommended if you wear a piece of gloves to avoid it have directly touch with your skin. So we will start with coloring the inner layer. You give an even layer of nail polish carefully. And you can place it here to let it dry for 10 to 15 minutes. Take a eye pin and you put a big bead through the eye pin. And you put this eye pin through the hole of this lily flower, like this. You put a small flower metal part through. And now this eye pin is too long. I feel like I want to cut half of this off. Now please pay attention, this is the most difficult part. You use a round nose plier, and you only use the very tip of this round nose plier to make a circle at the top of the pin. Roll it slowly to make an open circle. And you put this ear hook through this opening part and keep it here. Then you continue to roll it to close this circle. You continue rolling this until you find an ideal length for the earring, like this. And also I want to slightly close this hook. Yeah. So the top part is ready. And then I take another eye pin and put a smaller bead through it. And then I use the pliers to roll another circle, but don't close the circle. You place it here. Then you close the circle by continue rolling. Same for the other. This rolling takes some practice, so it's okay in the beginning. You don't need to be too perfect, but just to make sure it gets closed after being placed on this eye pin. And you continue rolling to close it. Okay, ta-da, finished. For those who bought necklace kit. So first, you put up this bead through this pin and place it through 2 layers of flower petals. And here is the golden leaf. So this is a jasmine flower. And you cut off half of this wire. You use this plier to roll it into circles to close it. So now this jasmine flower part is ready. And how to connect this flower with this? So I use this very tiny little ring. But first, you punch 2 holes on the back side of this petals. You can make a mark. And those 2 holes should be not too away from each other because it needs this circle to go through. those two holes at the same time. So it's approximately 2 to 3 millimeter wide. Then you punch holes, or you can also use a needle to punch hole on top of those marks you made. Be very careful to aim at this, the mark you made. Yeah. So 1, number 2 here. Yes. So now you make 2 holes here, and to open this circle, you will need. It's best to use 2 pliers. So you keep it wide open, like this, and you go through those 2 holes carefully. Like this. And you just place this necklace inside this circle, and you close it. Close this ring carefully with 2 pliers. Now the circle is closed and your necklace is ready.